In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So this is going to show my age a little bit. But the year after I graduated from college, which was the mid-'80s, years ago, right? Really. So in the mid-'80s, the year after I graduated from college, I decided to go to Nicaragua. And I don't know, those of you who are old enough to remember, Nicaragua in the 80s was rough. It was rough. And I decided to go that year, not once, but twice. And the second time was for Christmas. My mom was not happy. My mom was not happy at all. We had different views on the political situation in Nicaragua. They were mistaken, in my view. But, you know, this is how it went. It was a very, very uncomfortable conversation. And I'm sure that my parents wondered where they had gone wrong. This child of theirs who had been so compliant and so well behaved, really, because I was the eldest child, and very earnest. I had not misbehaved very much at all. And then all of a sudden, at age 22, I'm going to a war zone for Christmas. Who was this person, they had to have asked themselves, who was suddenly doing and saying things that they couldn't understand and didn't agree with? My response was that it was, in part, their fault. They were the ones who had taught me to care about others' well-being. They were the ones who had given me a love of travel. They were the ones who had taught me to be inquisitive and question assumptions. They were the ones who had sent me to those Jesuit schools that taught engaged faith. I was always, and still am, their daughter. Who I was in that moment could be traced back to who I had been as a child, even if they thought they didn't recognize me. Yet somehow this person had taken what she had been given and gone in directions that made no sense to my parents. I think this might be a good description of what happened in Nazareth and what we hear in this morning's gospel. They knew this guy, the people of his hometown. It's where he'd grown up. They knew his family. They knew his dad, who's not mentioned, but they knew him. Some of them might have married into the family. But who he was didn't feel connected to who they thought they had known. It seemed to be a big disconnect. But I'm not sure. I'm wondering if Jesus could have turned to the people in his hometown and said something similar to what I said to my parents. Jesus was human. He grew up witnessing the suffering of the poor and the outcast all around him. He was raised in a community that had held to its faith despite the rest of the known world, including the Romans who were occupying them, wondering and making fun of them for their weird commitment to being monotheists. Nobody was a monotheist then. Making fun of them because they wouldn't even make a picture of their God. They had held to that faith. Jesus' sense of justice and mercy were shaped by Jewish law, by the people who had kept it around him faithfully and with devotion. And he had surely experienced and witnessed in some way God's love through the people around him. He had been loved by the people around him. His teaching then, his acts of mercy and of healing were actually an extension of all that they had already given him. yet he had taken all of that to a different place. From that deep, mysterious place inside of all of us, Jesus had forged his past into something new and urgent. A message that both attracted and offended. It made people uncomfortable because it made them look at the world in a new way. He had an ability to heal that was miraculous and gratefully received, but also seemed in ways that they couldn't quite put their finger on to break the rules. Now, Jesus did have one crucial difference from us. He was God, and we are not. But the people around him were completely human, and they reacted to him just as most will to the hometown boy who has made good in a questionable way. They're not going to jump so quickly on the bandwagon that everyone else has jumped on. And Jesus seemed actually kind of understanding. He says, prophets are not without honor except in their hometown and among their own kin and in their own house. Home is, as Robert Frost said, the place where when you have to go there, they have to take you in. But we all know that doesn't mean they're going to treat you like a celebrity. I want you to take a moment to think about the communities in your life. The ones where you are sure you know the folks there. Your family, your hometown, your job, your church. How easy it is to assume that we know them and that they know us, that they and us cannot change or grow. How their roles have been defined for them long ago, and do we allow them to stretch those, to step out of those? But God can work changes in each one of us that can cause us to say, as the people of Jesus' hometown did, where did he learn to pray like that? How did she get to be so wise? Why? Where'd they get their ability just to cut right to the core of things and recognize the truth? After leaving his hometown, Jesus then puts his disciples on their own path of transformation. Go, preach the gospel, he said. Heal the sick, cast out demons, but go with nothing extra, depending on God's providence and people's generosity. Because by not bringing things that make them feel independent, they are forced into these new places, forced to learn who this new identity is, forced to embrace this new authority that they have been given. Strange how some of this comes out only in a place of dependence. There was a transformation in Jesus from the boy to the adult who came back home. As we are called, like the disciples, to walk in his footsteps, we too are called to be transformed in ways that may surprise even us. At any point in our lives, this happens over and over again. We become more powerful, more enthusiastic, gentler, and wiser instruments of God's love and justice. Sometimes, though, you have to leave home to find them, and we surprise those who await us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.